Hello YouTube, I'm Paul, and today I've got 13-ish tips for you about Diablo that Diablo doesn't tell you. Okay, let's go. Number 1 is going to be a huge combo tip. Unless you've played a Necro, odds are you don't actually know what a lot of the curses do. They can actually have a huge impact, even sometimes explaining why you're getting suddenly one-shot when you weren't before. Before we run through them all though, as kind of a quick bonus tip, if you didn't already know, you can actually hit up the town healer in every single act, and they're going to cleanse everything that's nasty off of both you and your mercenary. Alright, so these are the curses that we're going to run into most often. The red swish is going to be amplified damage. It reduces our physical resistance by 100, effectively doubling any physical damage that we take. This is the most common curse, being the one that cursed elites are going to spray all over the place. Most of the time we can play around it, but not so much our mercenary. It's generally a death sentence for them. This one is weaken, and it reduces our physical damage by 33%. It's not very common, and it doesn't last too long either, so it isn't really that debilitating unless we're a pure physical build with a pure physical mercenary, so we can generally just ignore it whenever it does show up. Now this blue jerk is Decrepify. It's a combination of both amp damage and weaken, with a 50% slow attached as well. The chill effect can also stack with this curse to make us move really slowly. Fortunately, in most cases it has a really short duration, so it's often more convenient to just kind of play around it for a few seconds rather than trying to go back to town to cleanse it. These spicy noodles are Iron Maiden. We shouldn't actually encounter it much since it was removed from the Oblivion Knights in the Chaos Sanctuary ages ago, but just in case we do, it's good to know that it's going to multiply and then reflect back any physical melee damage done right back at the attacker. The red fireworks are going to be Life Tap. This one is going to cause any physical damage done to us to heal the attacker for 50% of that damage. Honestly, this is another one that we're pretty much just safe to ignore since we kill things way before they have any real chance of healing off of this. And finally, we have the dreaded purple fireworks, Lower Resist. This one does exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to drop our resistances by a huge amount. Oblivion Knights in the Chaos Sanctuary are occasionally going to tag us with this, and oh boy, does it make everything in Chaos hurt a whole lot more since most of the damage coming from there is elemental. They don't really spam it as much as they spam the other curses, so sometimes it can be worth cleansing, but you'll find that sometimes you'll go to town, cleanse it, and then as soon as you walk back in the Chaos Sanctuary, they're gonna just put it right back on you. So it's really just kinda up to you how you handle this one. There are actually 2 more monster-only curses, and we'll only see them from succubus-type enemies. These are going to be Defense Curse, which strips our defense down, and then Blood Mana, which causes our spells to spend our health instead of our mana. If we have more max health than mana, Succubi will only hit us with the Defense Curse, and if our max mana is higher instead, that's when they'll use Blood Mana on us. Alright, so that's all the curses that we gotta worry about. The rest of the tips should go a little bit quicker. Maybe. Tip number 2-ish. Potions can actually crit, which means they just heal twice as much. The chance for a health potion critting increases with the higher that your vitality is, and then mana potion crits are based on how high your max energy is. This is just one of the many ways in which we benefit from stacking our vitality as insanely high as we possibly can with most builds. Tip number 3, anytime we take 1/12 or more of our total health in a single hit, we get put into hit recovery, which is a short stun type effect. Basically, it's just yet another reason that we usually only invest enough into strength and dex to wear our gear and then everything else into vitality. We always want as much max health as possible. Speaking of hit recovery, tip number 4 is all about faster hit recovery, faster cast rate, faster block rate, and increased attack speed. All of these mechanics work on a breakpoint system, which just means that adding another 10% doesn't actually mean you're boosting your performance with that stat by 10%. Let's look at the sorceress breakpoints to demonstrate what I mean. At 66% faster cast rate, we're just past the 63% breakpoint, so we can cast in 9 frames. If we equip an arachnid mesh belt to put us up to 86% FCR, we don't actually cast any faster yet. It's not until we hit that next breakpoint of 105% that we can cast in 8 frames instead of 9. Each class is different, so I'll leave a link to the wiki page below if you want to check out your class's breakpoints. Tip number 5. Resistances are insanely important, and a lot of people grossly undervalue them. 1 point of resistance equals a 1% difference in damage. So if a pit lord breathes his stanky fire breath on you and you're at 75 fire res, he's going to do a measly 25% of his normal damage. But now if you're at negative 75 fire res, suddenly he's doing 75% bonus damage, and you're probably going to get one shot. Bonus tip directly related to this, rescuing Anya in Act 5 gives you a permanent 10 all res bonus. and she can be rescued once per difficulty for a total of 30 free all-res. Super nice. Tip 6 is all about antidotes and thawing potions. These are going to give us a 30-second boost of 50 res along with raising our max by 10 for their respective elements, but the thing that a lot of people don't actually realize is they stack duration. So if we chug 4 antidotes before facing Andy or slam a bunch of thawing shots before fighting Duriel, you'll have 2 minutes of your boost against them instead of just 30 seconds. These are also going to work the exact same way for our mercenary, so don't forget to share.
Thanks.
Bonus tip, stamina potions share the exact same 30-second long duration stacking functionality, so you can slam those all at once as well. Tip 7, save your gold in a shared stash tab instead of a personal tab if you don't want to lose any when you die. The gold penalty for death only applies to your character's inventory and your character's personal tab. So it's great to use the shared stash tabs as kind of a safe deposit box to withdraw a few 100,000 from at a time. That way if you do die, you're not really losing that much. Tip 8 is another death-based one. Never ever put any gear on after dying when you're trying to retrieve your corpse. If you can't safely get back to your body, just save and exit and then pick it up in town. If you leave behind multiple geared corpses and get frustrated, then save and exit, all of them except for one is going to vanish when you reload into a new game. And that one that comes with you is not the one with the best gear or your original corpse or anything like that. It's the one wearing the most gold value based expensive gear. So basically, if your normal gear wouldn't actually sell for that much to a vendor, and then you put on some trash gear that for some reason sells for a lot to a vendor because it's like elite bases or whatever, that's gonna be the corpse that comes with you to your new game, not your main corpse. I did this when I was like 14 with my Sork, and I was traumatized by it I'm still traumatized by it. Never ever have more than one corpse with equipment on it for any reason. Tip 9, it is totally okay to skip immune monsters. No, really, it is super okay. I know we're all bloodthirsty, but instead of hanging out for 5-10 minutes, whatever, frustrated on one little immune guy, just move along to the next. A common trend with returning in new players is feeling like they have to kill every single elite pack and then getting frustrated and stuck if they can't. There aren't very many progression-based monsters that have impassable immunities. One of the early on common frustration points is the Den of Evil in Hell. A lot of people are on a fire build and they just can't kill any of the fallen, or they're on a cold build and they just can't kill any of the zombies. Instead of getting frustrated and giving up, just pick off everything that you can and use your mercenary for the rest. Or if we're playing online, odds are there's somebody else stuck on the exact same quest, so if you just make a game called Help Den of Evil or Help Ancients or Help Radamant or whatever you're on, you're bound to have a bunch of other people join. Tip number 10 is for all of us hoarders who like to save the dumbest stuff to maybe trade it, but we never actually trade, so why are we saving everything? Just because, you know. A lot of the time people seem to find trading and pricing intimidating, but have things that they think are worth saving to trade, right? Well, instead of making your next Magic Find run a private game where you just kind of do your own thing, just make it a public lobby and name it Item Name for Ruin. That's it. If somebody else wants it, they'll pop in and offer you one of their magic rocks for it. If we're not sure what our thing is worth, and we don't care to look it up, we can literally just say for ruin. You don't have to say a specific ruin. Odds are someone will join and they'll ask price range, and you can just tell them, oh, I'm not really sure, or just ask what their offer is. This is generally how I sell or trade most of my stuff. Worst case scenario, you finish your MF run and nobody stopped by to trade for your thing, so it just sits in your bank a little longer, right? Tip number 11. Gem shrines don't actually give you a random gem. They upgrade one that you're carrying by 1 level. If you have no or only perfect gems on you, then you get a random chipped gem. Some people like to carry around a flawless gem so that they can pop gem shrines without having to run back to town to grab one out of their stash first. Not me though, I'm lazy. I impatiently click those suckers for chip junk every single time. Tip number 12. Set up better keybinds. I know to a lot of people this probably sounds like second nature or common sense, but to those that haven't done this makes the game play so incredibly differently. Here's what my Sork's keybinds look like. Set yours up however you find comfortable as long as you've got something set up. Trying to use the default F keys, or you better not be clicking to swap skills, is just adding a layer of artificial difficulty to the game that I can't imagine is fun in any way. As a keybind adjacent tip, I guess, holding shift is the default for stand still, which is a great thing to get used to using. It can help us line up spells or quickly spam a few casts of something between movements without having to reposition our mouse over an enemy. Tip number 13. We're switching from the Controls tab over to the Audio Settings tab. We're going to turn item sound a little bit higher than everything else by turning everything else a little bit down. Diablo has incredibly good sound design, and we'll be able to identify essentially what drops just by sound alone usually. So tweaking the settings like this makes it so that if you're dropping blizzards and moving fast, you'll still always be able to hear the sound of a rune or whatever dropping just off screen over the chaos of combat. It probably doesn't seem like anything major, but I think this is actually one of my favorite little quality of life tips. It's just really nice to have that extra crispy sound to anything dropping. Alright, well I'd love to keep going, but this video is already getting super long, so this is all you get for today. If you're interested in maybe a part 2, or you've got a tip of your own to share, let me know below. If you enjoyed this list, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. If you hated it, a thumbs down. And if you want to catch more content like this from me, don't forget to subscribe. Catch you next time.